Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another Indie Game Friday, where I take a look each week at an independent role-playing game. This week we're going to be taking a look at a game that I honestly consider more of an arcade-style action game than an RPG, despite it actually meeting all of the basic requirements that I look for in an RPG. Still, it's well worth coverage, so I'm going to go ahead and get into it. I'm speaking of Superstone Legacy. Developed and published by Garden Shed Studios, it was released on May 26, 2017, and is available on Steam for $9.99 US. The developer was kind enough to give me a key for coverage. Superstone Legacy is billed as a hack-and-slash action RPG, and I agree with that classification with a few reservations. The prologue sets up the idea that some wanderer has been lured into a cave and inadvertently releases a number of ominous red stones, which presumably then either create or are possessed by various bosses that you have to defeat as you play the game. It's randomized each time, so there's definitely some replay value built in. When you start the game, you can select between playing it solo or with multiplayer, and then select your control method. The game has keyboard and mouse support, as well as controller support. I didn't get a chance to try out the multiplayer, but it seems like it would definitely benefit the experience. Once you've selected your input method, you select your starting character among the 6 available. Every character class has its own strengths, as well as different types of attacks. At any time during the game, you can actually switch between the different classes, and if you die, you automatically respawn as one of the remaining classes, until all of the classes have been used up. During play, this world is randomly generated as a series of linked levels, with each level composed of a few randomly generated stages. The individual stage layouts are randomly generated according to the theme of the level, with some themes being more complex than others, and stage layouts generally becoming more complex the more you go in. Indeed, the first few stages may be little more than single-room arenas. Once you've defeated all of the enemies in a particular stage, it automatically advances to the next stage in the level until you reach the boss. Bosses are randomly chosen amongst a fair number of them available, and each requires its own tactics to defeat. Once you've defeated the boss of a level, a red superstone appears, which must be broken to advance to the next level. Between levels, your still living characters are allotted experience based on their actions and kills in the past stage, as well as having money that you picked up tallied up. XP contributes to a gain in level, which can unlock your super ability, as well as other stat benefits. You may also spend money on various boons. Each character's statistics consist of attack, hit points, and speed, and the money may be spent to increase any of those, as well as to purchase additional experience, or to purchase food to refill hit points. It's a very basic sort of leveling scheme, but it's suitable for this game. In terms of gameplay, it doesn't get too complex. You move around, avoiding enemies, enemy fire, and traps, and then you take your own shots back at the enemy. You can build up the power behind each of your own attacks by holding down the fire button, and each class has its own type of dodge mechanic that allows it to avoid being hemmed in. Finally, each class can unleash a super attack if they are being overwhelmed, at least once they hit level 3. It's very much like a typical bullet hell style roguelike that you can see so popular nowadays, but things like food to restore health are in relatively limited supply as opposed to those other games. The challenge ramps up pretty swiftly, and honestly the difficulty of the various bosses are all over the place. Some are relatively straightforward, some are harder to deal with, and some are in rooms that make the encounter much more challenging than it really should be. So each playthrough provides its own distinct feel. Graphically, the game uses a stylized pixel art that's actually not half bad, and at least consistent all the way through the game. The music is a chiptune throwback that's probably one of the better ones that I've heard in quite a while. The controls are responsive, and gameplay is fairly tight. Again, and this is a common issue that I have with these sorts of games, the mingling of the pixel art style with the bullet hell gameplay can make the screen a little too busy to pay attention to things, at least for my taste, but maybe that's just me. So we have a pretty fun little game with individual characters leveling up in a randomly generated dungeon with a possibility for multiplayer. Why do I not consider that an RPG? Well, there's little to nothing in the way of persistence. Once you've finished a round, that's it. In that way, it's more like the classic Gauntlet game than a proper RPG. Now, that's not a bad thing. Gauntlet was fun, and I have to say, so is this game. but it'll be suited for a very niche style of experience. It's not as in-depth as a proper roguelike, nor as persistent as other roguelike lights that are out nowadays, but for something to just throw down and play for a bit with no stress about doing poorly, well, it fits that niche pretty well, especially if you can swing the multiplayer experience. Then it may approach the arcade RPGs of old. Not so sure on the price tag personally, but it's not exorbitant, and I've seen worse games try to ask for more, so I'll have to recommend this for those who enjoy this sort of genre and this sort of really RPG-Lite style game. And that is it for now. This has been the RPG Crawler with Superstone Legacy. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you've got feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content. Until next time, take care and goodbye.